This right behind me, that's what I consider insurance for my garden. My name's Katie. I'm going to take you on the tour of my property and show you the fruit trees that I have growing. And as we do that, I'm going to ask you a really important question. Do you have plants or trees on your property that are going to produce food for you year after year without investment each year in the garden? Without digging up that soil, planting that garden, tending to that garden? If not, have you considered it? So let me flip the camera around. I'm going to show you what I have. I'm going to talk to you about why I have it. And maybe you can think a little bit about if this is something that's going to be helpful for you on your property, and you can grow right along with us. Okay, you guys, so I have a couple of cherry trees that I bought a couple years ago. This is their third year, and they're getting to be pretty good size. And they're pretty close together, so you need to have two, or at least the type of cherry trees I bought. You need to have two trees, so they're pretty close together. They're probably about 10 feet apart. So I planted these trees and other fruit trees because I want to ensure the harvest. I want to make sure that even if I don't have time to be out in my garden, working in the garden, that I'm getting fruit. So you can see here, we got one little fruit. But anyways, these two trees are 3 years old. So we hope in the next year or two to get some good cherries off of these trees. So I'll bring you around over here and show you this tree. Okay, so this tree here and this tree are both apricot trees. So again, we have two apricot trees. These trees are a little bit shorter than the cherry trees. They're probably about 12 feet tall or so. These have fruit. So this one's actually the smaller of the two. We need to do some trimming, but you can see that it looks like we're gonna get some fruit this year on these trees. So I'm pretty excited about that. You can see that there's some fruit over here on this branch. And if I look up, I can see other branches that have fruit on it. So that's pretty exciting to see. On this side of the yard, we have this plum tree. So we have the two cherry trees over here to the right, then these two apricot trees, and just one plum tree. The plum tree is doing pretty good. I would say it's also around 12 feet tall, maybe 10 to 12 feet tall. And we do see a good amount of plums. So you can see we're already starting to get some plums coming out on that. So that's pretty cool that we're seeing that so soon. Again, we thought it was going to be at least another year. Okay, so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about why I wanted to have fruit trees on the property. So of course it's nice to just have the fruit that we like and be able to have that each year. And these are pretty new plants. So you see this one, I'm showing you all the fruit, like this tree's kind of loaded up. But this is just about 3 years. And so typically, you might expect that you'd get a good harvest after about 5 years. We planted these fruit trees because we want to make sure when we're not able to be out in our garden, like if something is to happen, like unforeseen circumstances, and we don't have the time to be working and tending to our garden, that we can still get a harvest of food from some of the plants growing on our property. So I'll take you over to the other side and show you some of our citrus. We have a pear tree also. Okay, so we're over here on the other side of the yard, and I wanted to show you our pear tree. So this pear tree, I bought this at the same time I bought those cherry, apricot, and plum trees, all the same time. There's a little bit, let me show you if you can see. So we're starting to see some fruit on here, so that'll be exciting this year. Hopefully we get some. Of course, it's still a very young tree, pretty early, but it's great to see some fruit. And I will show you over here another part of our yard, some of our citrus trees. Our citrus trees are a whole lot smaller. So they're pretty tiny. I did buy them at the same time and we planted them at the same time, but they were definitely smaller trees when I purchased them. I got all of them from Home Depot. So we've got some orange trees, lemon trees, and lime trees. So this is our fig tree. We've yet to successfully get fruit off of this plant that was edible. So when we come out here, it's like, we'll try the fruit and it's a little bit still firm and it's not ripe. And then we'll come out, it seems like just a day later, and it's just overripe and there's bugs on it. So this is our fig tree. We are hoping to do a little bit better with it this year. And worst case, if not, it still produces a good amount of food for our chickens. I'm gonna take you over and show you one apple tree that's also out here in our yard. Now this apple tree was here also when we bought the house. It was sure a lot tinier. So we're thinking this, at least we've been here about 4 years now. So this at least has to be 4 years old, and we're starting to see some fruit. So there were some apples on it last year, but they definitely were not edible. Well, if they were edible, they were definitely not good. So I'm not quite sure what kind of apple tree this is, and it's grown quite a lot over the last couple of years, but we're letting it grow and taking care of it, and hopefully it turns out to produce some pretty good fruit for us. So we do have a couple other plants on our property that were here when we bought the property, and those are olive trees and cactuses, which both are edible. We don't currently utilize those as a part of our diet, but they do exist on the property. So I wanted to really just kind of share this with you real quickly and kind of show you what we've got going on here, and just ask you, have you really thought about it? What might happen if you don't have time to be working in your garden? Do you want there to be years where you're not producing any food on your property at all? Have you considered putting in some fruit trees or maybe vegetables that just come back year after year so that you ensure you have a harvest even when you're not able to be out in your garden? Are you guys prepared for the unknown, for what might not be expected? So get those fruit trees planted if you want to ensure the harvest. Okay, you guys, I'm going to go get to work in the garden where I have all the vegetables planted. We've got to also trim up this rose bush that's getting to be that there's hardly any room to just walk into our garden area between the two rose bushes. There's like a tiny little path. Remy could barely get through it. So we're going to get this trimmed up. We got more work to do in the garden, but I wanted to just share this video with you so you guys can think about, in addition to the veggies you have planted, do you have fruit trees? Do you have things planned that are going to provide you with food year after year? Okay, you guys, thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoyed this content, then please be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring that bell so you're notified when we release a new video each week. You can follow along here with Mayfield Ranch and see what we've got going on our farm. And hopefully we inspire you to grow along with us.